Well, friends, here we are. It is the week of the fall equinox. It's hard to believe we have to let go of summer and move into fall. And this week we're focusing on the fall equinox and why we might want to recognize it as a time to just reflect why it can be useful for us as compared to some of the other holidays. So if you're interested in that subject, check out the previous podcast. Today we're going to talk about how. We're going to talk about how we can recognize the equinoxes and the solstices and how we can make these more meaningful times for us to connect with ourselves, the divine, as well as possibly our family. So I have 5 suggestions for you today on how you could recognize the fall equinox specifically. And so the very first suggestion I have for you is decorate. And this one is pretty obvious. A lot of us already do this, but maybe some of us don't do it on the equinox itself. So for myself, I don't do a lot of seasonal decorating. I don't have kids, so I don't feel motivated for that reason. And I like to keep things really simple. But I do like to change the wreath on my front door. For me, that is a way that I kind of mark the seasons, and that when someone shows up, they have a little extra welcome into the space. I feel like it also provides good energy coming into the home. So today I changed out my wreath from a summery one into a fall one, and it was kind of sad to see the summer decorations go. I personally love summer, but it was also kind of nice to see the fall decorations start to come up. I also love to look at decorating, not in terms of like putting out a bunch of knickknacks and things like that that you have to dust. Again, I really like to keep things simple, but I do think that it is a delightful way to bring the outdoors in. So one of the ways that I like to do that is my husband and I will go out for walks. We don't have a lot of woods here in North Dakota, but we do have rivers that have woods around them. So we went on a river walk last night, and you can see if you're watching the vlog that we collected some really beautiful cottonwood branches. And all I've done, this is how I'm decorating for fall, is I've put them into a beautiful apothecary vase. And then as they change color, I'm getting to enjoy them inside. I'm getting to enjoy the sound of them. I'm getting to enjoy even the scent of them in my home. And I really like to do that. I like to bring in the natural elements as they're changing into my home. And for me, I like to put those on my dining room table. Other people have, like altar spaces that they like to decorate with seasonal things. It's not something that I personally do. I like to change the decoration and the focus point in the place where we gather the most as a couple and where we have people over, and that's our dining room table. So sometimes I'll go out and I'll collect a bunch of different leaves and I'll just scatter them like down the middle of the table on a table runner. Sometimes I'll go out and pick the berries that are so beautiful at this time of year. That are kind of changing color as well with the leaves, and include those in the decor. And just keeping things simple, looking at this as an opportunity to continue to connect with nature and notice what's changing in nature by bringing that into our home and interacting with it a little bit more one-on-one that way. So decorate, that's a really simple thing you can do to mark the changing of the seasons. It's something that we do anyway, but maybe we do it on October 1st where we're decorating for Halloween rather than actually doing it on the equinox. So this is something simple you can do on the equinox to mark that change. Second suggestion that I have for you, and this is a really important one going from into fall and then looking forward toward winter, is to declutter and space clear. So if this sounds overwhelming, here's how I want to present this to you as an idea to mark the equinox specifically. Think of, for the next 3 months, what is the space that if it were cleared out, if it were decluttered, if it were more user-friendly, if it even looked better, would make a significant difference in your quality of life. It's going to be different for everyone. For me personally, it is my entryway space. It has a way of accumulating junk, detritus, things that I didn't even know we had. Like, where does this stuff come from? It has the boots, it has all of this, the winter stuff, it has all of the summer stuff. Why is all of this stuff in there at one time? So this week I have gone through that space. I have edited out things that are no longer appropriate for the season that we're moving into. I have added in the items that we're specifically going to need in that space for fall. So that is like rain boots and things like that, rain jackets, also slightly warmer jackets, only a small amount of those. I've taken out the hats that are more summery, the sun hats that I use out in the garden, and I've put in more of the ones that I like to wear for fall. It's a simple thing. And then I clean the space a bit and it feels completely different coming into my house. It's no longer like, ugh, this space like dragging me down energetically, irritating me, making me immediately annoyed. Like, is anyone understanding what I'm saying here? I walk into that space and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I can find everything. I don't have to take extra time when I'm coming and going to try to locate things that I'm looking for. Everything that I need for this season is there. I think it's a great space to declutter. Maybe for you, it's your kitchen space because you know that you're going to be doing more cooking, more baking, going into the colder weather. Maybe you've been doing a lot of canning and freezing and you just need to take a hot minute to step back and get things reorganized for yourself in that space. Maybe right now you are homeschooling. Something maybe you weren't planning on ever doing. Maybe the thing that would make the most difference for you is just taking a step back this week and figuring out what homeschool space is going to look like for you. If you haven't had a chance to do that yet, get that set up how you want it, get things decluttered, and also get things as functional and beautiful as possible for the people that are going to be learning and teaching within that space so that it's not something that is going to be an energetic drain for you. In other words, I want you to check in with yourself and figure out, what is the space? What is the thing that every time I look at it, I notice that it is in disrepair. I notice that it is dirty. I notice that it is disorganized. I notice that it needs to be decluttered. This is a space that you would want to focus on. So I'm not saying here, do your whole house. That's going to be too overwhelming and something that we don't have to take time for right now. But what we can do to help mark that equinox is to just declutter one area that's going to make the most difference for us. Very often when you do that, it will lead you to the next space that you need to work on. The other thing that you can do is to do space clearing. So this is something that I take from my Viking heritage, which is you can go around and you can smudge your space with smudge sticks. I did a blog on smudge sticks and the science behind them. So if that's of interest to you, you can go over to Prairie Aromatherapy and just hit blog and scroll down and you'll see it there. And it explains how the essential oils that are within the plant material of the smudge stick actually do help to clear the air out. You want to do this on a day where you can have some of your windows open to help that smoky air then move out so it doesn't smell like you have smoke damage in your house. We overdid this a little bit the other day, I will be honest with you. My husband helped me smudge. I thought it was something that we could do together as a couple to clear our space. He got really into it, okay? He likes fire. And I wasn't really watching what he was doing. I assumed he was, gingerly smudging, but no, he got super into it. And so between the two of us, it got a little bit too smoky. So do this on a day where you can have the windows open, let that smoky air then clear out. Or another thing you can consider doing is sort of a sound-based space clearing. So this is a singing bowl. Those of you that are on the video can see this, but those of you that are on the podcast can hear. After a while, the singing bowl gives off a sympathetic resonance and it gets really loud and it's beautiful. This is a frequency that I felt really drawn to personally. And there's different kinds of singing bowls. You can get the quartz ones as well. I really like, as I'm a musician, that's my background, and I really like the idea that frequency can change our personal frequency. It makes a lot of sense to me. So what I did yesterday on the equinox itself is that I went through my space, and instead of smudging with smoke, which we had done on the new moon, I just walked through and I did some space clearing with sound. And as I did that, I was praying blessings over the people that use those spaces, my husband, myself, our family, our friends. I was praying for blessings on projects that we have going on dreams and hopes. I was sending blessings in my mind and praying for other people that I knew needed help. All of those types of things. It was just a really wonderful meditation for me to connect to the intention of where our next 3 months is headed and really how I want us to be showing up in our space, but then also just in life. So highly suggest doing some space clearing of that nature. If you don't have a singing bowl, you could simply do this by doing a prayer or meditation walk around your space and even your outdoor space, doing a walk around your yard, doing a walk around your front porch, any place where people and energy are going to be coming into your home. That's a really wonderful place to do some space clearing. So that's your second suggestion, to declutter and space clear. Third suggestion for helping to mark that fall equinox is that when we are in a transition point, which I explained in the previous podcast, fall is a transitional season. This is a natural time for us to feel unsettled and ungrounded, but that also means that it's an ideal timing to refocus our intentions and to get regrounded by the way that we think about our life, our priorities, and our habits. So I have created a free resource for you. It is called the Fall Equinox Check-In. It's a 2-page document that you can go to get and print off by going to bit.ly/fall check-in printable. bit.ly/fall check-in printable. Totally free. You can just download it as a PDF. And what this is designed to do for you is to help you to let go of summer by bringing some gratitude to the table about the things that you are most grateful for. It allows you to focus your intentions on what your biggest priorities need to be moving into the next 3 months. It allows you to also set intentions for what you want to get out of the fall season. Maybe you want to do some traveling to places that you haven't been to for a while. Maybe you want to take your family to an apple orchard. Maybe you really want to go camping. Maybe you want to have some cozy nights at home. Whatever that is, whatever you want to get out of the season. Recipes, changing your nutrition. It gives you prompts for that. And then it also gives you prompts for changing your Ayurvedic routine, which if you are listening to this podcast is probably something that you either are actively interested in practicing or would potentially be interested in learning more about. So I give you some prompts about things that we need to change going into fall season to leverage our health, as well as some things that we can let go of from summer also to leverage our health. And then the final piece of the document is for you to find ways that you are going to do your space clearing and those sorts of habits, and then ways that you're going to connect with the divine, your community, and how you want to give back in the next 3 months. So this is a document that literally was a divine download in the middle of the night, and I got up really early to prepare it for you on the equinox. I have been getting some really good feedback from people. I also used it myself because I'm not going to ask you guys to do anything that I'm not doing. And some very interesting things came up. Even though I consider myself an expert on seasonal living and what we need to shift going into fall, there are some things kind of hiding in the back of my mind that I was able to bring forward by doing this exercise that I'm now going to do intentionally. This is also something that I would suggest if you have a partner doing individually and then sharing with each other about what your findings were and what your priorities are, or even something to do as a family. I know we're spending more time with our families right now, but maybe we're not spending time in a real intentional way. And this document gives you an opportunity to check in with everyone and say, okay, what does everyone want to do this fall? What do we not want to do this fall? What is most important to us with how we're going to eat and move our bodies, and how do we need to change our habits right now, and what isn't working? This document is going to talk you through all of those things. So again, bit.ly/fall check-in printable, totally free. Go there when you're done here, or hit pause and come back, download it. Maybe even some of the ideas from this podcast are things that you can incorporate into things that you want to do this fall by using the document. All right, fourth suggestion for how we can be more intentional and mark the fall equinox: gratitude. Okay, so if we're looking at the cycle of the year, right now we're at a point called mid-harvest. And as I explained in the podcast, the last one, my family being an agricultural family, that is actually literally where we are right now in the year. We've finished the early crops. We're waiting for the late crops. It's also true out in my garden. I've harvested all the early crops that are not frost hardy, like the tomatoes, the cucumbers, the greens, all those things. But then what's really interesting is as we're moving into mid and now into late harvest, there's some crops that are actually thriving in the colder weather. And those are things like cabbages and the other brassicas that are sort of coming back to life after really kind of needing to go dormant during the heat. So even though we're moving into fall, there's still some life happening out there that if you know about that, you can take advantage of it. But what this all gives us an opportunity to do is to think about harvest and the abundance that we've already received, also to be thankful for the abundance that we're still looking forward to from the harvest. This is where it would have been, how it would have been done traditionally, is to think about those things. If you don't have ties to an agricultural lifestyle, you can still practice gratitude, and that can look a large variety of different ways. Maybe you want to have an exercise with your family where around the dinner table everyone says something that they're thankful for. Maybe that seems very banal, but I have seen it lead to some very interesting conversations. One of the practices that really changed my life about 4 years ago was doing a daily gratitude journal and making a list of 5 things every day that I was truly grateful for. And what truly grateful for means, you need to physically feel the gratitude. It can't just be an analytical acquiescence to what you're grateful for as an exercise and then check, I'm done with that. But if you really want to change your emotional state, you need to get into a place where you can allow yourself to release enough control in order to get yourself into a gratitude mindset where you can feel that gratitude. What I noticed by feeling the gratitude is that that led to even more abundance. It also led to me being in more of a state of mind to be in contribution, to be able to serve, to be able to give back. So figuring out how you might want to do gratitude for yourself, for your family, etc. 5, this is the 5th suggestion, number 5, how we can mark the equinox and make it more meaningful and intentional for us is to do a date night. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of couples, a lot of partners out there really struggle to figure out when to do date nights. And here's what I'm talking about. It seems like every weekend is filled with stuff. It feels like every holiday is totally chaotic and filled with obligations to family, obligations to church or places of worship, civic obligations, and places that you're volunteering. And there's just not a lot of time left over where it's easy to just say, oh, let's go and have a date night. It seems like if you're going to have a date night with your partner that you need to really plan it. And I mean like plan it in advance, like way ahead of time. My husband and I don't even have kids, and this is a struggle for us. It is crazy how all of the priorities of everything happening with work, with family obligations and things that we're involved with, just kind of have a way of taking over everything. And I think if we don't become very intentional with creating space and time to connect with our partner, it's not going to happen by accident. And you can go months and months and months without ever feeling like you have an intimate soul connection with that person that you're spending the time with, that you chose to spend the time with. If you don't have a partner, this can also be a date night with yourself. I think dating myself was one of the most important things I ever did before I got into a serious relationship and ended up getting married. Being okay with singleness, being okay with being alone, and not just being okay with it, like reveling in it, loving it, exploring what that means, figuring out what you like to do, take yourself on a date, treat yourself, right? So this can be a date night with yourself. Or if you have a family, maybe this means that you're going to have family night. This is another thing that's really hard to prioritize. Kids are in a million different activities, right? And that just takes over everything. What I like about 4 times a year, the equinoxes and the solstices, is that probably nobody else, unless you're involved in, some kind of like pagan celebrations or things like that, probably nobody else is going to be having an equinox gathering or an equinox date night or a solstice supper or whatever you might want to say. In other words, there's not a lot of obligations to this day. So you can choose to make it special. And I think that's really cool. It's like, I told my husband and I was like, I really want to start marking the equinoxes and the solstices very intentionally, but I want us to do that together. And I want it to be our time because we're giving so much time to other endeavors and to other people. If we don't figure out a way to carve that out for ourselves, I just feel like we lose touch, we lose touch, we lose touch. So my husband also has the fall equinox check-in and is filling it out, and we are going to a local winery tonight. We're going to bring these along. We're going to sit outside. We're going to drink some wine. We're going to have some great conversation, and we're going to talk about what our individual priorities are, what is not working for us right now in life, what is working, what our goals are moving forward. Also, one thing I'm excited about with this check-in and doing this together is that we're going to spend some time figuring out where do we want to put our time, even our leisure time, for the next 3 months. Do we want to go to some events? Do we want to create something for people? Do we want to just say for the next 3 months, we're sticking around home? Whatever that is, this gives us a chance to check in with each other as a couple. So again, that's bit.ly/fall check-in printable if this is something that you want to do with your husband, or you could even do this as a family. And I'm going to give you an additional suggestion for your date night. What if your date night could be something that in some respect celebrated the harvest? So for us, we are going to a winery. They are celebrating their harvest, creating their new wines and all of that. I think that's a great way, and we're going to be outside while we're there. Maybe you want to go to an apple orchard. Maybe you want to go to a botanical garden or an arboretum if you have something like that. Maybe you guys just want to go hiking. Whatever that looks like, I think connecting with nature and connecting with each other, having some gratitude for that mid-harvest place, and doing something that would recognize that harvest, even for the things that are sustaining you personally as an individual, a couple, and as a family right now, could be very meaningful. So those are my 5 suggestions for you about how to mark the fall equinox. You don't have to do them all on the equinox. Maybe you just take a few of these ideas and you implement them in a very simple way in your life. Maybe you want to do everything and even more. If you have other ideas, please post them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this vlog or this podcast, please comment, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And of course, I always appreciate those 5-star reviews. I will see you guys next time.